In just 11 days, the United States has spent over $5 billion in munitions. 9 American service members are dead, gas prices are climbing at the pump, and the war that was supposed to last 2 or 3 days, according to the president himself, is showing no signs of stopping. Stay with me, because this story is far bigger than anything the headlines are capturing right now. Welcome. What you are about to hear is not opinion. It is not spin. It is the documented, verified, factual story of how America went from peace to war in the span of a single weekend and what it could mean for every person watching this right now. Operation Epic Fury. It is the name the U.S. military gave to its coordinated strikes on Iran, launched on February 28, 2026. And whether you support this war or oppose it, one thing is impossible to deny. This conflict is already reshaping American politics, the American economy, and America's place in the world. Your gas prices, your tax dollars, the future of Washington's balance of power, all of it is now in play. Let's start from the very beginning. To understand how America got here, you have to go back to a very specific moment. Election night 2024. Donald Trump, having just won his second term, stood before the country and made a promise. "I'm not going to start wars," he said. "I'm going to stop wars." It was a powerful line, and it worked. For 4 years in his first term, Trump had positioned himself as the anti-war president. He pulled back from striking Iran in 2019. He avoided direct confrontation even after provocations. He told voters repeatedly that he was different from the presidents who dragged America into Iraq and Afghanistan. That promise was central to his brand. Then came February 28, 2026. At 1:15 in the morning Eastern Time, American bombs began falling on Iran. The United States and Israel launched a coordinated surprise attack hitting Tehran, Isfahan, Qom, and multiple military sites across the country. Within hours, Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, was dead. The world woke up to a new reality. Trump posted an 8-minute video to Truth Social at 2:30 a.m. He mentioned the 1979 hostage crisis. He mentioned Hezbollah and Hamas. He talked about 47 years of Iranian aggression. He called it Operation Epic Fury. And here is where it gets really interesting. Because nobody, not Congress, not the American public, not most of Washington, had been told this was coming. Now here is the turning point that changed everything about how this war is being perceived politically. Within days of the strikes beginning, the official explanation for why America went to war started to shift, not once, not twice, but multiple times. On day one, the White House said it was about Iran's nuclear threat, a clear and imminent danger to America. Then Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters on Capitol Hill something different. He said the real reason was that the U.S. knew Israel was going to strike Iran anyway, and that if Iran got hit by Israel first, Tehran would automatically retaliate against American forces in the region. So the U.S. had to strike first to protect American troops. Then President Trump publicly contradicted Rubio. He said the decision was entirely his own. Quote, "If anything, I might have forced Israel's hand." Then by day 4, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth introduced yet another justification. Iran had allegedly plotted to assassinate President Trump personally. So this was also, in Hegseth's words, the president getting the last laugh. Then on March 6th, Trump posted on Truth Social demanding Iran's, quote, "unconditional surrender." 3 senior officials, 4 different explanations. 1 ongoing war. Pentagon briefers reportedly acknowledged to congressional staff on March 1st that Iran was not planning to strike U.S. forces unless Israel attacked first. That single disclosure directly undercut the imminent threat framing that had been used to justify the entire operation. What does this mean? It means that the stated rationale for this war is, at minimum, deeply contested even among the people running it. So what are the experts actually saying? Richard Haass, former president of the Council on Foreign Relations and one of America's most respected foreign policy voices, said this plainly. Operation Epic Fury is a war of choice, not a war of necessity. He wrote that the Trump administration failed to provide convincing evidence that Iran posed an imminent threat requiring military force, and that diplomatic options had not been exhausted. The Stimson Center, a nonpartisan security think tank, offered this sobering assessment. No matter how precise or devastating, air strikes alone cannot topple a government. Iran in 2026 is likely to emerge battered but not broken. Chatham House, one of the world's leading international affairs institutions, reported that only 27% of Americans currently approve of the strikes. 27%. For context, that makes this conflict the least popular beginning of a war in recorded American polling history. On the other side, supporters of the operation, including the Heritage Foundation and several Republican senators, argue that Iran's nuclear program posed an unacceptable long-term threat, that decisive action was necessary, and that the results on the battlefield speak for themselves. By day 11, U.S. military officials confirmed that Iranian ballistic missile attacks had dropped 90% from the start of the conflict. Over 5,500 targets had been struck. Iran's navy has been significantly degraded. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth called it peace through strength in action. But the question analysts are asking now is not whether the military is winning on the battlefield. The question is, what comes after? And nobody in Washington has a clear answer to that. Now let's zoom all the way out, because the consequences of this war are not just being felt in the Middle East, they are being felt in your daily life. The Strait of Hormuz, one of the most critical shipping lanes on the planet, responsible for moving roughly 20% of the world's oil, has been brought close to a halt by Iranian activity. Crude oil prices surged 15% in the days after the strikes began. Gas prices at the pump have already climbed to $3.11. And analysts warn they could go significantly higher if the conflict continues. The Wall Street Journal has reported that surging energy costs are already raising inflation expectations across the U.S. economy. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, the political divide is stark. The House voted 212 to 219 to reject a war powers resolution that would have required Trump to seek congressional approval before continuing military operations. The Senate blocked a similar resolution 53 to 47. Votes split almost entirely along party lines. Democrats say there is no endgame. Republicans say the operation is working. And some Republicans privately are starting to worry about what all of this means in November. Cook Political Report, one of the most trusted nonpartisan election analysts in the country, published a stark assessment this week. Their headline said it plainly: will Iran impact the midterms? For the GOP, there's not much upside. With gas prices rising, the economy already under pressure from tariff battles, and a war with no defined exit strategy, Republican incumbents in competitive districts are going to face a very uncomfortable set of questions between now and Election Day. History is not kind to the president's party in midterm elections under any circumstances. Under these circumstances, with an unpopular war, rising costs, and a divided country, the political math becomes even harder. So here is what I want to know from you, and I genuinely mean this. Drop your answer in the comments below. The president who promised to stop wars has now authorized military force in multiple countries during his second term. Operation Epic Fury has cost billions of dollars, claimed American lives, and spiked your gas prices, all without a congressional declaration of war. Given everything you now know about the shifting justifications and the political fallout, do you think this war was a necessary act of national defense, or do you think history will judge it as a costly miscalculation? Tell me exactly where you stand. 3 things to take away from today's story. First, Operation Epic Fury began on February 28, 2026, and is now in its second week with no clear exit strategy defined by either the White House or the Pentagon. The official justifications for the war have shifted multiple times since it began. Second, the human and financial costs are mounting fast. 9 American service members have been killed, over 140 have been wounded. More than $5 billion in munitions has already been expended, and gas prices are rising for every American at the pump. Third, the political consequences are just beginning. With the 2026 midterm elections approaching, a divided Congress, historically low public approval, and an economy already under strain, The ripple effects of this war could reshape the balance of power in Washington for years to come. This story is not over, not even close. We will be tracking every development, every vote in Congress, every shift on the battlefield, every number that matters to you and your family. If you want to stay ahead of these stories before they hit the mainstream, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We cover American politics the way it deserves to be covered. Real facts, real analysis, no noise. We'll see you in the next one.